Right, today we're going to be talking about microphones. Let me show you this microphone here. This is the microphone that has probably given me more pleasure than any other microphone I've ever used. Gives me joy, this microphone. I love it. It's the Shure MV7. Why is this guy excited about a microphone? Well, let me tell you. Because it does USB and XLR all at once. So what that means is that for webinars, when I want to do something very quick, very simple, the USB just goes straight in. All the webinar systems and software that I use for my training all use the USB feed from this microphone, and it works very well. But I also do voiceovers. And so sometimes for that, and I've just been recording an audiobook as well, so sometimes for that, it's useful to take this microphone and put it into some sort of further processing. So for that I use, can I show you this? Where's my camera? I'm going to pull my plugs out here in a minute. I use this. Can you see that? It's a Roland Quad Capture, it's called. Very similar to the Focusrite devices, which you might hear about as well. The Scarlett device, I think there's another one. So what that allows me to do is I take the XLR cable out of this microphone, put it into that little box, and then it's got some settings on it. It's got like a noise gate on it. I could put it into one of these DBX processors, and lots of different things I can do with my voice. Now, if you don't have one of these quad capture devices or interfaces, then don't worry, because another good thing about this mic here, the Shure MV7, is that it has additional software with it. Now, I don't use that. I use my interface, but depending on like how you think you're going to position this mic, you can customize the settings. It will give your voice a particular sound. It will do some of the things, in my humble view, maybe not as well as the dedicated hardware, but it will at least attempt to do some of the things, some of the compression, some of the effects, some of the noise cancellation built in using the Shure app for the MV7. Now, you don't get the stand with the mic, but you do get the cradle. So this bit here, up to here, which screws on to my microphone stand, which means I can do lots of things in terms of the way I position this. So if I'm doing a podcast, I can have the microphone right up here, right up close. And then if I was doing a video, I would drop this down, I would lower the stand like this, and I could change the settings on the microphone, and you could probably still pick me up quite clearly like this when I'm doing a video. Now, before I got this microphone, I'd used various Blue Yetis over the years. Always found them very good in terms of the sound quality and the ease of use. My problem with the Blue Yeti was I didn't think it looked good in our videos. Even with the shock mount stand coming in, I felt that just the setup that we've got, I can't have it hanging down like that. That here would be the ideal place for the Blue Yeti. We're not able to do that in this particular setup. So I wanted something that could come down a little bit lower. Now, if I run, and I do so many training webinars, so if I'm using Teams or Zoom, and I have it set like this, and probably could turn it up a little bit. If I have it set like this, on Teams or Zoom, you'll not see the microphone at all. So that's one of the reasons this microphone sits a lot lower. It gives me much more flexibility over how it is tilted, how it is set up, and you see a lot less of the microphone stand. This is a Rode PS1 microphone stand. So for me, it's the sound quality, it's the ease of use, it's the visual look of it as well. Best microphone I've ever used, hands down. This is not the original Pop Shield. This is another one that Shure sell. The one that came with it was just a wee bit flimsy, and I was coming through with quite a few plosives. I always have to be careful with that. I like to get really nice and close to a microphone. Goes back to my radio broadcasting days where they had thousands and thousands of pounds worth of processing equipment and extremely expensive microphones, and you get right in close and you can be really quite intimate. So I quite like that. And what that means is when I'm with on a microphone that costs, a few £100 like this one, rather than one that's thousands of pounds, that we used in the BBC or at Radio Clyde or Real Radio, I really have to watch the plosives, the P's and the B's. And so I felt that the original pop filter for this one, some of these were coming through and I was having to really adapt the way that I spoke or record it again. I don't like that. I like the energy. I like being really natural when I'm broadcasting, when I'm communicating or podcasting. So what I found was that by changing the pop shield, a lot of that's a lot better. You know, my clients that I'm doing voiceovers for, they're not, I can't send them, you know, P's and B's and distortion and stuff. I like to send them something quite flat and clean that they can work with. So I'm getting good feedback from them. The other thing I think that you often find with somebody who has been a professional broadcaster like me is that sometimes our microphone technique, our studio etiquette, our use of the technology is actually maybe not as good as it should be. Even things like, you know, setting levels. Because I grew up, you know, for so long, I tried to learn it, but there were engineers and there was equipment and there was a whole transmission chain of tens of thousands of pounds of amazing equipment that would compensate for my mistakes. So I would, you know, and I'm not proud of it, but you'd be concerned with your show and what you were going to do and the music you were going to play, and you'd sit down, you'd whack up the fader and you'd go on and you'd be right into the microphone like this and moving it about and have all that energy. And so when you move to other equipment, like some of these other microphones, I also used the Rode NT USB microphone. It was good as well, but this is better, you know. And what I find is that maybe some of these bad habits that I got into during my broadcasting career, when I'm working with lower grade equipment, where the transmission chain at the BBC or Radio Clyde would have eliminated that fault, suddenly now it's amplified a little bit. Well, you know, I'm trying to sell myself here on this guy's the professional broadcaster. This guy knows what he's doing. So I found that wasn't really helpful. And of course, running a business and doing lots of training, lots of webinars, and then marketing for myself, making my own videos and my own podcasts, it has to hit a particular standard, you know. And so I'm so happy to have found the Shure MV7 microphone. The only slight negative is that when I look around the YouTubers, you know, and the content creators that I admire, they've all got one. Everybody's got one. And that's a good thing. You know, let's be honest. Let's not be too, you know, up our own backsides about it. It's clearly a very highly regarded, very cost-effective, value for money microphone. It's the Shure MV7. Of course, an audio purist will tell you that you'll get better results for thousands and thousands of pounds. Of course they will. Of course they will. There will always be people that sneer. But nobody's listening to my podcast on expensive, high-grade, hi-fi equipment. They're listening on their phones, if they're listening at all, you know. And unlike 10 years ago, where I could flick the switch on whatever radio station in the knowledge that there's 70,000 people listening to me, my business, my podcast, we can only dream of those kind of numbers. And it's more important for me that we get that content out there across a range of platforms frequently and quickly. And we have to run a business, run a family, give our clients value for money. We're not going to spend thousands of pounds on microphones, but we could spend a few hundred. And I'm really glad that I did with the Shure MV7.